You're talking about these 2 points here? Okay. Well, the vanishing points, what you need when you're doing a 2-point perspective, you do need 2 points, and they could be put here, they could be put here, where you put your vanishing points are kind of where everything emanates from. And so that if I put a vanishing point here or here, that all of the lines are coming to this point. And all of the lines are coming to this point, and that's what gives a 2-dimensional drawing a 3-dimensional perspective, the perspective of 3 dimensions from 2 points. And so let's just draw on the board a little bit. That here we kind of had the 1-point perspective that kind of made my name start coming out at you a little bit. In a similar way that my art that I showed you earlier had done. But now with like 2-point perspective, the thing is that I can put my 2 points wherever, and that's the freedom of the artist, is that you choose where you want to put your 2 points, unless it's something where somebody gives you the constraints of, I want my 2 points here, and then you kind of say, okay. And if they're paying you or if they're grading you, then you say, okay. But the thing is that I could put my vanishing points here if they want it on the paper, or you could go and you could go off the paper. I'm the one who is known to draw outside the lines from time to time. You could put your vanishing point here, and you could put your vanishing point here, and so you almost have like a plane that's almost tilted. And this, having them off here would off the paper, like maybe tape a piece of cardboard behind it per se, and have these vanishing points. But these vanishing points are the anchors of your drawing. And so that if I draw something here, then I have to be almost a slave to going to that point, like here, and I would just, so that I kind of angle that up, angle that down, angle this one to this point right here, angle that one to that point there, and then close it, all of a sudden I have a building, or at least the appearance of one, and I can put windows in here, and those windows though, on this side of the line, have to obey this vanishing point, and so I have to go to that vanishing point. And I would take a ruler if I'm being really precise, obviously. And then these lines have to go to this vanishing point there. So you almost have like a row of windows. But what they're doing is the perspective, see how they change, that they're, from here they're going up, from down here they're going down. And so that's how your perspective changes. If you are going to maybe this vanishing point, these lines would be a little bit less, they wouldn't come so drastically into a point that's actually on the page. And so you would have a little bit more air to your buildings. You'd actually have a bigger horizon per se by using vanishing points that are off the page. So don't always feel that you have to stay on the page, but you also want to have those vanishing points anchored, because if they start floating around, then all of a sudden it's almost like the rules of a game. If you're not playing by the rules of the game, if you're not using the vanishing points for perspective, then your game is, it doesn't really make any sense in a sense. And the same way with art. But art, you can break the rules, and you could experiment by trying different vanishing points within one piece of art, and you might be curious. It might be a good exercise just to see what comes out of it, and who knows, you may have a new style out of it, and that may be your style. So instead of being Pam, in terms of Pam Lowry, you just become Pam with a capital P instead of with a little p, so that people know you by name, by first name only. Like Oprah or Picasso or Prince, they don't need another name. Madonna, there's another one. They come up with their own style.
So is there anything that you would add, Brian, to what you've talked about in terms of perspective at all?
Be willing to experiment. Be willing to find your own voice, your own style. as a musician as well, when I was taking drum classes, I was taking classes from a master drummer who had been around for 50, 60 years and who blew away my teachers with his talent. And one of the questions that was asked of him was, do you play along to records? And he said, well, when I was younger, I did. And I still, if I'm in the car, I'll still be tapping along. But what happened is eventually, instead of trying to parrot their style, I found my own voice. I created my own style. And so like my teacher who played with Michael Jackson, I met him in Los Angeles. He played racquetball at my club. He said, he knew that he had made it when a mentor of his heard him play and said, you've got your own thing. And that was an important day for him. It was really the way in which he presented that fact was that when you have your own thing, you've come into your own. And I think that that's important for you to find. In my sense, part of my thing is three dimensions using sine waves to offer radiation. I think that that's part of my style. When I was in Venice Beach for a while, I painted a mural. And this will be made available through the class's website. And what it was is I had a chance to fix this building's wall, and you could see the ocean out here. And so it was a huge difference from being in a cubicle as an engineer. But I offered to fix the wall in this area. Somebody had crashed into it, and after fixing it, I kind of took the wall hostage and started painting it with black paint. And what I did is I created kind of a skeleton. And later on, the owner comes up and it's like, what are you doing to my wall? It's like, well, I want to paint a mural for your building right next to the ocean on Venice Beach Boardwalk. And he said, well, and I'd become friends with them. And part of it was the networking. I had networked with the people who worked there. It was one of the very few buildings on the Venice Beach Boardwalk that had a blank wall to paint. And I kind of did what I could to build friendships, to build networks. And that's a lot of times how you get a gig, is going out into the world and making friends, and then they hear about you, and either they hire you themselves or they refer you to somebody who is looking for somebody who has a talent that they know that you happen to have. And in this case, once I started holding it hostage, the people, by doing the work but then starting painting a mural, and after the owner came back that day, the clerks who knew me well because of the networking I had done for a couple months consciously said, well, let him do it. We need something for the wall, and it would be nice to have him, around to do like little odd jobs. And so people, when I was doing that mural, would say, got to know me as Picasso. I'd say, hey, Picasso, how you doing, Picasso? And the clerks would say, hey, Picasso, come over here and sweep the floor. But the point is that when I started it with just black paint, and a lot of people would come up to me and say, wow, I can't wait to see what you do when you add color. And up to that point, I had really just been a pencil and eraser artist. I'd been at work as an engineer. You use pencil and eraser a lot to make sure that your calculations, if you make a mistake, that you could erase it and recalculate. And the thing was, that it was one of those light bulb moments, one of those aha moments, where it's like, yeah, I really should start adding color to my art. And so, like when I asked Pam, or when Pam mentioned doing this talk today, one of the few things that was here was just a black marker. And what I did is immediately went and got a couple of other colors to add a different vibrancy, to add a different texture. And so, the thing is that don't be afraid. In art, there are, as long as you don't hurt somebody, it's okay to break the rules. And hopefully with paint, you could always paint over it. If you don't like what you've done, you don't have an eraser, but you could always throw a coat of white paint over it and start again. And so don't feel that there are any mistakes. And sometimes the mistakes that you make are actually may lead you into an idea that you hadn't thought of before. And just be open to wherever the mystery of nature. You always want an opening for the mystery of nature to be able to appear and enter into the spirit of the art that you're creating.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Your insights into perspective. And also, Brian's website is listed there. And I will have a link in Blackboard also to a book that he has published?
Yes, it's an ebook that's available through Amazon. It's called Start My Hard Art, and it's kind of a chronological picture book with annotation of all of the art most of the art that I've done. I don't think it has this piece that I showed you today, but it has most of my art photos and explanations as to the where, the when, the why. And it's called Start My Hard Art, and there will be a link to that. But if you want to check out more, passionhero.com is my website. I've published now 24 books, ebooks mostly for the Kindle and for the Nook. Have music on iTunes and Amazon and Google Play and things of that nature. And former Lawrence Tech student. It all started here for me when I was just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and hay in my hair. And
Well, thank you, Brian, very much.
Thank you very much.